everybody. This is Melanie Headley. You are listening to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast. I'm here with ToRAISE Hakoun. ToRAISE is the executive director of ToLabor, which is an international training and certifying doula organization. ToRAISE, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Melanie?
I'm good. I've missed you.
Yeah, you too, and everyone. We apologize for the long lag in new recordings, but we don't apologize terribly in a big way because we were like everyone else, having holidays and time off. Everything kind of goes into that dip down.
Yes.
And so here we are back in 2016. Kind of blows me away. 2016.
I'm kind of in denial about it.
Because I'm old, and I remember as a kid, we would talk about the 1920s, the 20s, the 20s, and we're almost to the 20s now.
Oh my goodness.
And that suddenly occurred to me. So anyway, I digress. Hi, Melanie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I was actually I was telling ToRAISE a second ago, I was off call for a little bit over the break, which I've not been off call over winter break in 3 years. So it was really, really nice.
So you enjoyed yourself, I would say, on New Year's Eve.
I did.
I'm glad
yes.
we'll hear. That's a topic that I said to Melanie we should also discuss about how you handle your personal life. I mean, we talk about all of that in other episodes, but specifically like drinking and having a good time and
going out of town.
Yeah, well, and just even being in town and wanting to go out and have dinner with your partner or your friends or whatever the case might be. But that's not what we're going to talk about today.
So what are we talking about today?
We have a question from a listener.
Yep, Paige Baroka. Thank you so much for writing to us. We loved your email. It was really sweet to read. Thank you. And thanks for listening.
Yes, and so we're going to do that for a little bit, and then hopefully we'll have a tip for you at the end of the show. So
stay tuned. All right, so we're back. So ToRAISE, can you read to us? Paige wrote us the most beautiful email, but we're just going to read the excerpt of the question.
Right. So here it is. It's her concern about prenatal visits. How can I possibly cover inverted nipples, the brain of each intervention, fears, self-advocacy, providers, birth plan, the realities of a hospital, everything to expect postpartum, the Miles circuit, prodromal labor, and everything else mentioned on the podcast? I know you did one podcast on what to cover in prenatals, and it seemed like I spent two-hour visits covering things not even mentioned. How do I fit it all in? How do I know what's best? And I have to say, Paige, I laughed when I read that because I thought I totally get your overwhelm with that question.
I got stressed out reading all that.
I know.
Like, oh my gosh, how are you going to do that?
I know. And so the question is, do we? And I can just start this conversation by saying it's impossible to cover all those things in a prenatal visit with your clients. So how, Melanie, I'm going to turn this to you for a second and jump in and out with you. You're actively with your clients, and you think all these things are important, plus so many other things. Like Paige said, she covers other things that we didn't even mention.
Right.
So how do you balance it? Because this is a big, I know this after workshops, people will say, oh my God, we just spent 3 9-hour days talking about this stuff. How can I possibly fit this in 4 hours? Yeah, and everything's important. So what's the answer?
Well, first I would say that that's not all just your job.
Good. That's what I think.
Okay, good. Shoo. We're on the same page.
Well, I and I want you to continue, but I want to say this is something so important that doulas have to understand. We're not the only resource out there. We aren't the only ones who should be holding this couple's birth in our hands.
Absolutely. And it's their job. It's their job to do the work and to seek out resources and to seek out information that aligns with their plan. It's our job to help them and to point them in those directions, but it is not your job to give them all of the information. They've got to do their own work.
Right. And so say a client calls, which is very common, and we know it can be, when the pregnancy stick says they're pregnant, but we do know that it's more common in that last trimester, like about 7 months, 6-7 months pregnant, that they start to really think, oh, I should get a doula.
Right.
So you get them at 7 months, let's say pregnant. So let me ask you this. What your experience, because you get a lot of clients, and they're probably, let's think of the ones who are 7 months pregnant already. What are they lacking? I know it's going to vary from person to person, but
so you're saying like priority of information, kind of?
Yeah.
First of all, provider is big.
Right.
Who's your provider? Are they in line with what your birth plan is, what your goal is for your birth? CBE, childbirth education, who are you taking your classes with?
And have you taken a class? Because wouldn't you say that, and I'm interrupting you for the second again. I think this is the answer so much, Paige, is you have to recommend childbirth education classes to your clients. And good ones that if they are looking for a low intervention birth, then they need to take a class from somebody who teaches towards low intervention births.
Exactly. So if they have the hospital class, the mainstream hospital class that they're signed up for, then maybe you can talk to them about switching to an out-of-hospital class that really focuses on low intervention and natural birth.
Yeah, so some suggestions, which you probably already know, are Lamaze, Bradley, hypnobirthing, birthing from within, Kappa,
Birthworks,
ICA, and independent, A Brighter Birth, which you teach.
Right. And so, there are a lot of independent childbirth educators out there in different communities that kind of meld all of these methods into one and really teach from their own experience.
Right.
I teach really from a doula's perspective. But there's also, there's a group of midwives here in town that they have a contract that they give to their patients that they have to have a childbirth class and they have to be signed up by 28 weeks.
That's great.
I think that's really great. And I think that might not be a bad idea for doulas to put into their contract that if you are really committed to, your clients that are really committed to having a natural birth, you've got to do the work.
Yeah. And people, it is interesting. They think, well, I'll come to you and you'll make it happen. And you will educate and you'll support their education, but you aren't the end all to end all. And then there's cost is always a factor for people. They'll say, well, I can afford this, but I can't afford that.
Right.
So it's helping them find also childcare, childbirth educators and doulas or can you work together to offer a package, or can you find somebody who is willing to do a little less money for this particular person, and you work it out on your end so the childbirth educator isn't discounting only.
Yeah. And I would kind of go to those childbirth educators that you have in your town and come up with maybe a package rate that you can go back and forth. So it's not just like, hey, out of the blue, I've got this one person, and I will definitely, wait till I find someone who is truly in need for some financial assistance. But yeah, I think it's great to have those relationships because then, as a childbirth educator, I was just a teacher for a long time before I was doing active doula work.
Right.
And it was so nice to have relationships with the doulas in town that I could have doulas come into the class and talk. I could really keep tabs on this couple while they were going through the class and reach out to the doula and say, hey, these are the questions they were asking this week. You might want to follow up with your prenatal about this because we didn't have time to cover all of this. You might want to supplement information there. And
that's good. Yeah, having that kind of collaboration is really, if it can happen, Paige, and to all of the listeners, I think is ideal because not all childbirth educators are doulas and not all doulas want to do childbirth education.
Right. And I find that when I hear the same information, the same kind of information coming from multiple sources, I am more likely to trust it.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
So if it's not just coming from one voice, there, my backups and I have through the years talked about how it's nice to kind of go between each other and send clients to each other for different purposes to get information so they are hearing the same message over and over again. And it's great.
Yeah, and I think that the other option is if somebody, you also have the option as a doula to have add-ons onto your contract. You can have, the straight fee that you get. You pay me this much money for, 2 prenatal visits, the labor, the birth, the on-call time, and this much time in the postpartum. But you could also say, I will spend 2 extra hours with you, 4 extra hours with you, 6 hours, whatever it is, for these additional hours.
Yeah,
to do that.
I offer different packages.
Yeah, to do that childbirth education then with them one-on-one, and then you don't have to think, oh my God, I've got to squish this all in 4 hours worth of time.
In my just straightforward doula package, I offer 2 prenatals and then the postpartum visit. And then with my repeat clients, I will offer them a little bit off of the whole fee just to do 1 prenatal because we know each other at this point. And then I have a package with 3 prenatals, a little bit longer of a prenatal, but within each of those prenatals is a short CBE class. So, but I do recommend, I think it is, people also benefit from being in a group.
I think so too.
And meeting other couples that are going through the same thing. And so I will try to steer them into that.
Because also, don't you think, and as an instructor, you see this, I see this, that questions get voiced in a childbirth class that often somebody hasn't thought of, or they have, but they're not feeling comfortable to say, or they forgot it for the moment, or they hear somebody else's experience and they go, oh, good, or God, that's crazy. Whatever the case.
Or wait, you had my doctor and you switched?
Exactly.
Why'd you switch?
Yeah, or you have a doula. I remember teaching the CBE class one time for you, and everyone in the class had a doula except for this one couple. And they kept listening to everybody's reasons. And all I could hope was that they trusted their doctor, which was wonderful. They felt they had a relationship with their doctor, which was wonderful to hear. But I still questioned the viability of that relationship with that doctor actually carrying them through a whole entire labor. And in the end, I don't know if they chose a doula or not, but I think it definitely made them pause and have to listen to the reasons why people were choosing.
And then they're really making an informed decision.
Right, exactly. And the other thing that is always available to you, and you mentioned it actually in your question as well, that you said, do I just bring a handout for everything? You can bring handouts for things. I'm a big proponent of still written, and it can be a file that's emailed as well, but I like people to have that like magazine kind of hand holding visual.
So I'm going to interrupt you for a second and say,
yeah, of course you did.
Everything should be texted. No, I'm just kidding. It has made my life so much easier to email a packet before we meet. And so that way they can look through and highlight, and they print it.
Yes.
So I'm not paying.
That's a good idea.
There's so many times when I'm running out the door and I'm like, there's no more printer ink. Oh my God, why are there 50 pages of Disney printed out next to my computer?
If you do that, which I totally get, because we email things as an organization, a packet of articles to our participants because we want them to read it before they come to a workshop. But what we strongly request that you do is require it of them to read. That it's not just a package you sent to them for just fun. It's the instructions with it is, I need these to be read by both of you, if it's a couple, not just one, but both of you. So, and, highlight, like Melanie said, or underline any questions you have so we can talk about it in our prenatal. And, that covers a lot, like the articles we recommend among many is The Hidden Risk of Epidurals, The Pain of Labor by Andrea Robertson, Ecstatic Birth by Sarah Buckley, Hidden Risk of Epidurals is by her as well. And then there is another one called A Cesarean Birth and the Culture of Fear. And the author I can't think of right off the top of my head. Those 4 articles cover so much of what you would spend so much time talking about, but instead they read it in their own voice. They hear it coming to them from another source. They're footnoted so they can look and see that it's not just your opinion that you're giving. And it just holds a lot of credibility to people. And you can include, I'm a huge... I want you to talk about inductions, so finding the information, in our manual we have articles about inductions that we encourage the doulas to use to give to their clients to read. Postpartum information. I mean, they've got months to do this. And, I've shared that I have people in my life who are pregnant who we'll have these discussions, and then I'll say, so how's it going? And they go, oh, well, just haven't gotten to it yet. Sometimes I just get lazy, and I'm a nice person, but I want to shake them by the shoulders and say, you can't be lazy. Like if this is important, this has to be a priority. This is about the health and well-being of your baby and you. This isn't short term, this is long term. And now is the time, not later, because later is later. You save later for when it's later. People have to take it seriously, but you have to be that firm person to make them understand that this is important.
Yeah, and I've definitely had to have the, what I call the come to Jesus talks with some of my clients and really say, oh, you haven't read anything that I sent you.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
How serious are you about wanting a natural birth? How serious are you about achieving this goal?
And there's this misunderstanding that if they have you there, it'll be okay. Like I just recently read somebody's comment. It was in response to a really nice article about the importance of having doulas. And this person, and I'm not criticizing them, I'm using this as an example, so it may sound critical, and I apologize. They were very unhappy with their doula. I totally get that. You're not happy with your doula. I get that. But she equated her words were, just because you have a doula does not mean you won't have a painful birth. And I thought, well, what did you think, that you were going to have a painless birth because you had a doula? And she said, just because you have a doula doesn't mean you're going to feel happy in the end. Well, did your doula tell you you're going to feel? I mean, is that what she's mad about? The doula misled her, or did she mislead herself? And the doula didn't make it clear enough. So it's going back to specifically what you're talking and asking about, Paige, is. It is your responsibility to guide, but it is not your responsibility to spoon feed or be the only person taking responsibility for all of the information. We point them to resources. We fill in the blanks. We support. We talk about important issues and then say, so that's what your homework is look into this. And then any questions about it, we can talk about it on the telephone, or, you can contact me with an update on, I want to hear in about a week what you found out. I mean, make them do the work.
And have a nice little circle of practitioners that you refer to.
Yeah.
A chiropractor that you like, an acupuncturist that you like,
prenatal yoga,
a therapist that you like, because I've definitely been put in a position where I'm like, I am not a marriage counselor. I know. And call on those people and send your clients to them so that they can, again, hear that same message coming from a different voice, but So that's their way of kind of building their tribe too, of sending out into different birth circles and groups, of meeting people.
And like inverted nipples come because she mentioned it. It's send her to a La Leche League group.
Absolutely.
Have her meet. If the discussion is about her nipples or previous breastfeeding issues, say, well, here's the name of a lactation consultant. Confer with them now.
Yes.
Don't wait till it's a problem. And I'm not going to be there 100% of the time to fix it with you. So let's set these things in motion that we can set into motion.
Right.
Yeah. So I hope that helps, Paige. Just, pick choose topics that you think are really important that you want to cover, but also be flexible based on the client that you have. Your interview, you should have notes from that about what they've told you about themselves, what they're looking for, what their previous history is or lack of, or their emotional, those kinds of things. And then if they hire you, when they hire you, you'll know how to begin. What are important things to really be covering with them? And then you build from there. But I think what Melanie said is, I like the idea, and I know more and more doulas are doing this. They require that their clients take a CBE class because they feel it's too overwhelming. Otherwise, they get caught. And the other thing is consider having packages. And Melanie's website is abrighterbirth.com, and you can just take a quick glance at her website to see what she offers. And if you like it, send her a note and say, "Oh, I like that. I might copy it," so she knows.
Yes,
and,
please. Check it out.
She's got a beautiful website and great ideas. And I'm sure there's other doulas out there who also have this as well. So take it easy. We figure it out one client at a time. So I'm sure you're doing a great job, and we appreciate what you are doing out there. So thanks.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be right back with a tip. All right, so our tip today is one thing that I know some doulas are moving towards that might help this whole giving as much information as you can in the most streamlined, most efficient way to your clients, is having an option on your website that is just password accessible to give to your clients so that they can get their own password, go in, log in, and then within that space in your website, you can have client forms. Maybe you have an intake form. Maybe your contract is on there that they can sign. And then also going into your different appointments. So maybe your first prenatal, you can have a specific packet for that with all of your handouts that you want to give. Second prenatal, some more handouts, or maybe there you have some references to some resources in your community. But that might be an easier way, and it feels very professional.
Yeah, and people are leaning more to doing that, and I think that's a great idea. And then you still carry stuff with you.
Yeah, I always carry a couple of hard copy handouts that I give them that I ask that they put in a prominent place in their house they can see. So,
and what are those?
So the first one is when to call me, and that talks about timing. So, and this is actually, I think, Therese, we did that episode maybe a year ago or so, and so I got the idea from you. And but between the hours of 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., you can call me with, which is, I always say, this is your code to middle of the night phone calls that are allowed to be made. If you are experiencing consistent, strong contractions that don't go away after mimicking sleep, you have to get up and move. And so then we talk about what would you try to do before then? What are you taking a shower? Are you getting in the tub? Are you drinking some water? Are you eating some food?
You're giving great tips. You're giving 6 tips in one.
There you go. So that kind of thing. When to call me, which is all the times and when it's okay. And then my info, my backups info, my husband's phone number is on there just in case. And then the second hard copy is a kind of stages of labor reference guide that I created that has early labor, active labor, transition, and pushing. And so it goes down the list of some things they may be experiencing within each phase. And I love it because when I get to their house, I can see that they've checked things off of those columns, so I know that they're paying attention and they have that. So those are two things that I always carry with me and give to them and go over in my appointments.
Great. I think that's a great tip. Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening. And don't forget to donate to the podcast. We still appreciate all the support. And now we're coming into the new year. Just give us your money.
We've got lots of goals, of goals, and we need your help.
Yeah.
And we've got some really exciting things coming up to share with you guys in the next couple podcasts. So stay tuned.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Bye now.